Hi, everybody. Okay, so today we are going to be learning how to balance equations, and I'm going to show you the easiest way that I've learned how to balance equations. There's more than one way to do this, so if this doesn't work for you, please make sure you come and talk to me, and I'll show you a different way. All right, so we talked about word equations and skeleton equations. What you see here is a skeleton equation with just some blank spots for those coefficients that'll give us a balanced equation. Now, a coefficient is a number that goes over here before the chemical formula for a compound or the symbol for an element. Okay, and what that does is it tells you how many multiples of that compound or element you're going to use in this formula, in this equation. Okay. Slide this back up. Okay. So we're going to do this one together, and then I'm going to have you guys do one with a partner. So the first thing that you're going to do when balancing a chemical equation is you're going to list the elements in the reactant side and then on the product side. So here I've got carbon, which is C, hydrogen, which is H, and oxygen, which is O. And then using that same format, I'm going to come over here. I've got carbon, hydrogen. I like to line mine up, and then oxygen. So that when I look at my math, I can just look across the row instead of trying to like find the element on the other side. Okay. And so the idea behind a balanced equation is whatever you start with on the left, you have to end up with on the right. So it's just conservation of mass. It's just another way to look at it. So now you're going to count your elements on the reactant side. So I have 1 carbon, 4 hydrogens. That's what that subscript means. And 2 oxygens on the left-hand side as reactants. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to count the elements on the product side. I have 1 carbon again, 2 hydrogen here, and 3 oxygen. Okay. All right. So here's where it gets fun. You have to add numbers in front of these elements and compounds until what you've counted is equal on both the reactant and product side. So like here, carbon's already equal, so we wouldn't mess with it right now, but hydrogen's not equal and oxygen's not equal, okay? So you can pick either of these and just decide what you're going to put in front of one of the compounds to change these, okay? And so since oxygen is in 2 compounds here and hydrogen's only in 1, I'm going to try to make my hydrogens match first. It'll be easier. So I have 2 hydrogens on my product side, 4 on my reactant side. The only place hydrogen exists is in H2O. And so right now this is with just 1 H2O molecule. So I'm going to put a 2 here because 2 times 2 equals 4. So 2 times 2 is 4. Now my hydrogens match, but whatever you do to one element in a compound, you have to do to the other element in the compound. So this is going to be 2 times 1, because there's no subscript here, so it's automatically a 1, is 2. And then you have to add the 2 from here. Okay, so here I had 3, now I have 2 and 4. So now I have 4 oxygens. Okay, my oxygens are still not balanced, but now I'm going to have to multiply the reactant's oxygens to make a match. So I look over at my reactant side and I say, hey, I got lucky. My oxygen is all by itself. I need 4, I have 2. So what is 4 divided by 2? That's 2. Okay, so 2 times 2 is going to be 4. I put a 2 here. And then I just go through and I check to make sure everything is equal like I think it should be. 1 and 1 checks. 4 and 4 checks. 4 and 4 checks. Okay. These ones that don't have anything in front of them, when you're writing out a balanced equation by hand, you leave those blank because if there's nothing there, we assume a 1. But on standardized testing and in like any test you'll get from me, it'll ask what the coefficient is. So you'll just write 1s in there, okay? Because it'll give you like a list because they're multiple choice. It'll be like 1, 2, 1, 5, or something like that, okay? You don't actually write these 1s in normally, but for the purpose of like testing, I need to know that you know it's a 1, okay? If something had a coefficient of 0, it just wouldn't be written into the equation. So we never ever have coefficients of zeros. Some other rules about balancing equations is you never, 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 ever change your subscripts, okay? No matter what you do, this does not ever change, okay? You can only multiply by the coefficient. Okay, so you'll never subtract, you'll never divide with coefficients, you'll never divide to create the correct ratio. You can only ever multiply by the coefficients. Okay, coefficients are always, ooh, that came out weird. Hang on. Are always whole numbers. Okay. They can never be negative. So you can never change the subscripts. Coefficients have to be positive whole numbers, so you can't have a fraction, you can't have a negative number, and you're multiplying the coefficient by whatever your subscript is. And remember, if your subscript is missing, that equals the number 1. Okay, we don't write them in because it just clutters it up. All right, so I'm going to scroll down and I want you guys to pause, find a partner, and try to balance this equation using the technique I just showed you. If you need to go back and take some notes or recopy the question or rewatch it, let me know. If the method I showed you is not working for you and you're really struggling or you're frustrated, let me know. There's 2 other ways to balance equations. Okay, this is just the easiest one.